There are so many names. They all sound the same. I keep having to Google who Tywin Lannister is. House of the Dragon Season 3 comes out in June, and I don't remember anything that happened in the first 2 seasons, so I am recapping and rewatching the show so that you don't have to. You're welcome. This video is recapping Season 1, Episode 6. I have other videos recapping Episodes 1 through 5, so if you haven't seen them, go watch them and come back. I'll give you a second. That seems like enough time. Let's get started. In the last episode, Rhaenyra married Laenor Velaryon, Otto was ousted from King's Landing, Lionel Strong is the new hand of the king, and Alicent and Criston are now Rhaenyra's biggest ops. Episode 6 is called The Princess and the Queen, and it has a 10-year time jump from where we last left off. So let me give you some context before we jump into the plot. This is kind of like a pilot 2.0. First of all, Rhaenyra and Alicent are now being played by Emma D'Arcy and Olivia Colman, respectively. I love them. They are so good in these roles. Alicent is still married to Viserys, and they have 4 children, Aegon, Helena, Aemond, and Daeron. Daeron. We will not see Daeron until season 3 because he is being raised in Old Town. He's like squiring. Also, I have to make a real quick correction to something I said in episode 4's recap. Alicent was not holding baby Aemond in episode 4. She was holding Helena. Helena is older than Aemond. I forgot that. I'm so sorry. Rhaenyra is married to Laenor Velaryon, and before the episode begins, they have 2 children together, Jacaerys and Lucerys Velaryon. Sir Harwin Strong, I told you we'd see more of him, is now the commander of the City Watch and nothing else. That's the only reason he's important. Don't think about it. Where is Prince Daemon? Prince Daemon is across the Narrow Sea in Pentos. Put a map right here, because I don't know where that is. It's one of the free cities. He's staying there as an honored guest of the Prince of Pentos alongside Laena, his wife, and their 2 children, Baela and Rhaena. Both daughters. Daemon is a girl dad. I think that's everyone important. I hope I didn't forget anyone, but if I did, I'll get to them. It'll happen. The episode begins with Rhaenyra giving birth to her and Sir Laenor's 3rd child. Rhaenyra, despite her fear of childbirth, has now given birth successfully 3 times to 3 sons. She's not able to take time to rest or bond with her youngest son, however, because Queen Alicent has demanded the child be brought to her as soon as it is born, and Rhaenyra is going to take him there herself to show Alicent how cruel this request is. So Laenor, Rhaenyra, and the little baby Targaryen are walking through the halls of King's Landing. Everyone at court is shocked to see her out of bed, but excited to be some of the first nobles to congratulate them. Laenor is like, why is Alicent even demanding this? I thought we were past all of this petty, childish fighting. He also makes a comment about how he's so glad that he's not a woman, and Laenor, oh, that's not. Rhaenyra is struggling to climb the steps of the Red Keep to Alicent's chambers because she literally gave birth 5 minutes ago, and Laenor insists that they turn back because this is absurd. But Rhaenyra is like, unless you're carrying me down these effing stairs, we're not turning back. Who is guarding Alicent's chambers but Mr. Criston Cole? He does not greet them warmly, just steps aside. Alicent sees them and is like, Rhaenyra, darling, you should be resting after your labors. Please sit down. Girl, don't even. Viserys comes in looking absolutely busted. When I told you that Viserys was just going to keep getting worse, I was not lying, and this is the best he's going to look in these next few episodes. But he still loves his daughter, and he is so excited to see his new grandchild. Alicent asks what his name is, and Laenor immediately says Joffrey, which is a surprise to Rhaenyra. Joffrey, if you'll remember, was Laenor's first love that got beaten to death by Criston Cole at his wedding to Rhaenyra. And Viserys is like, he has his father's nose. And you can tell Alicent is tired. Shut up! I live on a really busy street. I live in Nashville. There's music blasting constantly. And a foghorn. Is it getting quieter? And you can tell Alicent is tired because, friends, we all have eyes, and this pale, pale baby looks nothing like Laenor Velaryon. None of his sons look like him. But before the new parents leave, Alicent is like, keep trying, Sir Laenor, and you may end up getting one who looks like you. Shady. Another thing we do see in this scene, however, is the bond that Rhaenyra and Viserys have. They've only grown closer in the last decade. He loves his daughter so much, and he's so proud of her and his grandchildren, which is very cute. As Rhaenyra and Sir Laenor walk back to their chambers, Rhaenyra is like, you could have maybe consulted me before naming my child? And Laenor's like, it's our child, isn't it? I deserve to have a say in our affairs. And Rhaenyra's like, first of all, I am the only one who is bleeding, and second of all, you haven't seemed that interested in our affairs of late. And both things are true as Laenor looks behind them at the trail of blood that Rhaenyra has left in her wake. She is so cool. In their chambers are their other children, Jacaerys and Lucerys, who show Rhaenyra the dragon egg that they chose for Joffrey, and also Sir Harwin Strong. Sir Harwin Strong? Why is the commander of the City Watch in Rhaenyra's chambers with her children, who coincidentally look exactly like Sir Harwin Strong? Well, he was just escorting the lads back to their chambers. Oh, sorry. But while he's here, could he maybe possibly hold the new baby that is definitely not his child and is definitely Sir Laenor's? Oh, he's tearing up? Anyway, Sir Laenor takes Jacaerys and Lucerys back to the dragon pit to train, giving Sir Harwin and Rhaenyra a moment alone with baby Joffrey. Guys, they're really cute together. They're really in love. At the dragon pit, Jacaerys, who from now on I will be calling Jace because that name is too hard to spell and say, it's such a mouthful. Jace is training his dragon, Vermax, while Aegon, who is now like 14 probably, watches, bored out of his skull, and Aemon, who is like 10? Wait, should I guess the kids' ages? I am terrible at telling how old kids are. This should be fun, let's go. Okay, here are my guesses. I think that Aegon is 14, Helena is probably like 11, Aemond is 10, Jace is 9, and Luke is 6. Those are my final guesses. Editing Sophia, please feel free to tell people how badly I messed up. Anyway, back to the plot. Aemond is watching Jace train his dragon and is clearly extremely jealous because Aegon has a dragon. Jace has a dragon, and even little Luke has a dragon, but Aemond does not have a dragon. But the other 3 boys tell Aemond that they have a surprise for him. They found a dragon. Aemond doesn't even really have time to get excited because he sees what they brought him. A pig with wings tied to it that they call the Pink Dread. It's cute to see Aegon, Jace, and Luke have like camaraderie and be cousins together, but I do feel bad for Aemond, who it seems like is used to being the butt of the joke. After the other boys leave, Aemond walks further into the dragon pit because he's sick of this. He is going to claim a dragon. Just kidding, one of the dragons immediately gets angry that he's there and breathes fire at him. Try again later, Aemond. He is brought by the guards to his mother, who's with Helena, who's kind of a weird child, just obsessed with her bug collection. Good for her. Alicent is like, what happened? And Helena says he did it again, meaning tried to claim a dragon. How does Helena know? She wasn't there. Weird. Alicent tells him he has to stop this, and Aemond tells her about the prank that the boys pulled on him. Alicent insists that he will have a dragon one day, and Helena interrupts, saying he'll have to close an eye. Weird. When Alicent goes to Viserys' chambers, he is working on his little special interest scale model of old Valyria. He literally could not care less, and he tells her that Aemon shouldn't have been so gullible. And Alicent is like, no, your grandsons suck. And Viserys is like, they're younger than him. Are you sure it wasn't Aegon who put them up to it? And Alicent goes in even harder, saying, no, those kids are savages. It's a wonder to me their eggs ever hatched. Viserys is like, why is that? Alicent says, you know why. And Viserys says, I'm afraid I don't. And Alicent is like, come on. Do not play with me, Viserys. 1, bastard child is a mistake. 3 is an insult to the throne, to you, to House Velaryon, to decency itself. Okay, misjudgmental. Viserys just tells her about a black horse that he had once that mated with a silver stallion and gave birth to an ordinary chestnut mare. Alicent is like, how do you know the black horse wasn't getting it on with other horses behind your back? He remains unbothered, though he clearly thinks his daughter can do no wrong and tells Alicent to shut her mouth and not bring it up again. She does not shut her mouth, though. She complains to Criston Cole about how everyone is just pretending that those kids are not illegitimate and it's driving her crazy. Criston is like, yeah, you're right. The princess is brazen and relentless. A spider who stings and sucks her prey dry. A spoiled see you next Tuesday. I took that word for word because it was just crazy, and the way he delivered it was even crazier. Even Alicent stops walking, like, just to stare at him. Criston, you're doing too much. Alicent tells him that she has to believe that honor and decency will prevail in the end, letting we, the audience, know that she has taken up her father's mantle as chief schemer trying to get Aegon on the throne, and Criston is one of her supporters. Cut to one of the weirdest scenes ever of Aegon standing on his windowsill, wanking it. While he looks over the walls of the Red Keep, Alicent interrupts him and is like, whose idea was this? She's not talking about the wanking it, she's talking about the pink dread prank that they played on Aemond. Aegon's like, no, it was not my idea. Definitely not my idea. It was those boys that you hate. It was them. Alicent tells him that his cousins will not be his playthings forever, and as things stand, Rhaenyra will be queen after Viserys and Jace after her. Aegon's like, so? Alicent is sick. She's like, dude, you are nearly a grown man. How can you be so stupid? If Rhaenyra ascends the throne, she might kill you so you can't challenge her. And Aegon says, well, I just won't challenge her. And Alicent grabs his face and is like, you are the challenge, Aegon. Just by living and breathing, you are the challenge. You are the rightful king. Rhaenyra knows it. The small folk know it. The realm knows it. And for a second, you can see little Alicent, alone and terrified for the lives of her children, but she puts her mask back on and tells Aegon to get dressed before leaving his chambers. Cut to Pentos, where Daemon and Laena are riding on their dragons, Caraxes and Vhagar, for the amusement of the Prince of Pentos and his court. Really for their amusement too. Laena loves being a dragon rider, and she loves her dragon Vhagar. At dinner, the Prince of Pentos offers them a permanent residence in Pentos. He would give them the castle they're staying at, along with the surrounding properties and ports, in exchange for protection against the Triarchy, who are apparently still a problem. They've aligned themselves with Dorne, and Pentos is worried about potential threats to their sovereignty. Laena begins to politely decline, but Daemon stops her and says they will consider the offer. Later that night, Laena interrupts Daemon and Baela's High Valyrian lesson, and Laena is like, are you seriously considering staying here permanently? We would only ever be guests, staying at the pleasure of whoever is ruling Pentos, and they're using us. Daemon says, exactly, that's the point. We have a good life here, we're free of all the politics of Westeros, politics that don't even really concern us. Isn't it refreshing that the Prince of Pentos is so upfront about the transactional nature of it all? We have dragons, they have gold, it is as simple as that. Laena says they don't belong here. They are dragon riders. They are meant for greater things. Laena wants her third child, she's pregnant, to be born on Driftmark, and her daughters to be raised with the rest of their family, according to their birthright. And Laena wants to die a dragon rider's death, not the death of a fat country lord. And with that, she leaves Daemon to stew. Cut to the Red Keep. The baby Targaryens and Velaryons are training with Sir Criston Cole as a busted Viserys watches with Lionel, Hand of the King. Viserys is like, wow, these boys training together will surely create a lifelong bond. Isn't that right, Lionel? And Lionel's like, that would be great. That's the hope. That's what we're trying to do. Criston is being very helpful to Alicent's kids, sparring with them, completely ignoring Rhaenyra's kids. And Sir Harwin is like, the younger boys could stand to have some of your attention, Sir Criston. And Criston fires back, you question my methods. And Harwin is like, no, I just think you should apply your methods to all your students. And Criston's like, okay. Let's do eldest son versus eldest son. Aegon, fight Jace. And Jace never had a chance. Aegon is like twice his size. He's a teenager. Jace is a child. But he still puts up a good fight. We see Criston instructing Aegon while Harwin gives advice to Jace, really painting a line in the sand as to who each knight favors. Aegon takes the upper hand, and Criston is like, Aegon, use your feet! Don't let him get up! Kick him! Criston! So Aegon kicks Jace to the ground and just starts whacking him until Harwin puts a stop to it, admonishing Criston's cruelty. Criston is like, you sure seem to care very much about the Velaryon boys. Most men would only care so much for their cousins or brothers or sons. And that's too much for Harwin. He immediately decides to beat the crap out of Criston Cole until they are forcibly separated, which I love to see a little comeuppance for Criston's hate crime last episode. But Sir Criston is really the winner here, bleeding on the ground, laughing and saying, I thought as much, because he kind of got Harwin to admit something that he really shouldn't have admitted, if not indirectly. Someone comes to get Rhaenyra because of this incident, and as she goes down to the training grounds, she hears Lionel Strong yelling at Sir Harwin, so of course she has to eavesdrop. Lionel says to Harwin that he's opened their family up to speculation about treason, an offense that would mean death for Harwin and exile for Rhaenyra and their children. Harwin says it's rumor only. And Lionel is like, dude, people have eyes. The only reason you aren't dead is because Viserys pretends to be blind. I kept my mouth shut until you assaulted a Kingsguard to defend your Kid. The word he's not saying is kid. Rhaenyra knows this is bad, so she goes to talk to her husband, who is in his chambers, drunk as drunk can be, with a knight named Carl with a Q. She's like, hey, Carl with a Q, no offense, but could I speak with my husband? And Laenor's like, Rhaenyra! Carl was telling me about his adventures in the Stepstones. The Triarchy is back and better than ever now that they're allied with Dorne. And I think a few months at sea, in battle, is just what I need after all the sacrifices I've made for you here. Rhaenyra's like, are you joking? You have sacrificed nothing. I let you buy whatever you want, spend time however you want, with whoever you want. And now when we have vultures closing in on us, rumors swirling around about the parentage of our sons, you want to flee to the Stepstones to fight pirates and wink at sailors? We have to fight these accusations, put up a united front together. Laenor laughs at the word accusations because they both know what's up. He tells her the wise sailor flees the storm as it gathers. Rhaenyra's like, you're funny. Okay then, I command it. As heir to the throne, you have to stay here with me until we clean up this mess. Cut to Pentos, where Rhaena is watching her dragon eggs in the fire. It never hatched, and her mother Laena tells her that half of them never do. Baela was given an egg in her cradle that hatched, but Rhaena will have to claim one, like Laena did with Vhagar when she was 15, and her father Daemon would say the same thing. Rhaena is like, he wouldn't say that to me because he completely ignores me. Laena goes to tell Daemon that Laenor has written to tell them that Rhaenyra has given birth to another son. Whew! And Daemon is like, did he mention if this one also looks exactly like Harwin Strong? Rhaenyra, you are not as slick as you think you are. Laena tells him again that she misses her brother, and she suspects that Daemon misses his. Daemon is like, no, I don't, I just miss Westerosi wine. Laena's like, I don't believe you. If you loved Pentos like you say, you wouldn't spend all of your time cooped up in the library reading about the dragon lords of old. Daemon didn't know he was being watched so much. Laena's like, you're not sleeping. And Daemon says, maybe I would if you would get off my back. Laena's like, listen, I know I am not the wife you wanted for yourself. Don't pretend that I am. I have made peace with it. But you are not the man that I married. You're better than this. Cut to the small council, now featuring Alicent as well. Rhaenyra and Alicent seem to never agree on anything, and it's the source of most of the tension in the room. But they have to talk about the Stepstones and the Triarchy's alliance with Dorne. Remember when Daemon came back after claiming the Stepstones and was like, yeah, no one's there, everyone's dead, we're all good? They continued to leave it undefended, and Rhaenyra points out that they should have sent soldiers to hold that territory that is now under siege again. Alicent is like, we can't afford it. We have to consider the costs to our subjects. But Rhaenyra argues that the cost of war is greater. Because we didn't take care of it 10 years ago, it's a problem again. Alicent notices Viserys is on the struggle bus, so she tries to end the council meeting, but Rhaenyra says, wait, before we go, I wish to speak. Alicent, I have felt the tension between our families, and for any offense I or my sons have caused, I apologize, but we are one house. And before that we were friends. Jace will inherit the Iron Throne after me. I think we should betroth him to your daughter Helena. Ally ourselves, let them rule together. And as a gesture of goodwill, if Syrax, Rhaenyra's dragon, lays another clutch of eggs, I will let Aemond have his choice of them. Viserys is like, yay, that's a great idea! Alicent just points out that Rhaenyra is leaking breast milk from her dress, and then tells Rhaenyra, thank you for the offer, the king and I will consider it. You will not catch me defending Alicent often, but in this specific case, I understand her hesitancy. If Jace were ever to be outed as illegitimate, it would put her daughter at risk if she was married to him. Plus, Alicent is very uptight about duty and propriety because she played her part perfectly. She married the old king, she suffered through bearing him children, and she really holds a grudge against Rhaenyra for not having to suffer the way that she did, the way that all women in this world have to. Rhaenyra gets to have it all. The throne, the handsome husband, her knight paramour, while Alicent has to take care of a decomposing monarch. As they walk back to the chambers, Viserys tells Alicent that it's a good match, and Alicent should put aside these childish quarrels and join their families. Even though Jace and Helena are cousins, or rather, Helena is Jace's aunt, so they are already family, but I guess that isn't close enough for Targaryens. Alicent tells Viserys that the only way this marriage would happen is if Alicent is dead. So it's a no-go on that one. Lionel interrupts their conversation to resign as Hand of the King. He tells Viserys that his son Harwin has disgraced the Strong family due to his actions that morning in the training pit, and Lionel does not wish for his son's mistakes to tarnish the reputation of the crown. Viserys is like, he was kicked out of the city watch. It's fine. I think that's punishment enough. Lionel is like, it's not. There is a shadow cast over House Strong which grows ever darker. Viserys says, so name it then, if it casts such a gloom. And Alicent says, yeah, say it. Say it, Lionel. Say it. Please say it. But Lionel won't say, so Viserys will not accept his resignation. Lionel's like, well, if you won't let me resign, will you at least let me leave to escort my son back to Harrenhal? Harwin is my heir, and it's time he assumed his duties there. I'll come back. Viserys agrees, tells him to hurry back. And Alicent is so mad that she didn't get a win just then. But she doesn't have time to be sad. She's having dinner with Larys Strong. Remember him? Lionel's other son? Alicent tells him what just happened, says that if Otto were still the hand, that he would speak the truth to the king. And Larys is like, don't tell me with a straight face that your father would be impartial in this matter. And Alicent's like, no, but he would be partial to me. She's having a little tantrum because it seems like there is no one in King's Landing on her side. It seems Larys is on her side, though, because later that night he visits the dungeons to see some men set to be hanged in the morning. He tells them he will grant them mercy in exchange for a favor not yet revealed to the audience, and goes ahead and cuts out their tongues so they won't be able to spill about it. Someone's playing Cupcake outside my window. Cut to Laena giving birth, and it is not going well. She is bleeding, the baby won't come out. The surgeon tells Daemon that short of cutting her open, there is nothing to be done. While Daemon is thinking this over, he looks back at the birthing bed and Laena is gone. She has used the last of her strength to go outside to Vhagar. Remember, she wants a dragon rider's death. She pleads with Vhagar. Vhagar Dracarys, Dracarys Dracarys. And the grandma dragon looks so sad and confused. Why would her rider command her own death? But Laena begs and begs until finally her dragon obeys. Daemon realizes where she is, too late. By the time he gets outside, Laena has gotten the dragon rider's death that she longs for, burnt to a crisp on the sands of Pentos. We cut to Harwin saying goodbye to Jace and Luke, and Rhaenyra saying to the boys that he'll return, but he just doesn't know when. It will be a long time. He kisses Joffrey, telling him that they will be strangers when he meets him again. Rhaenyra is trying not to cry. She clearly loves him, but they can't embrace, they can't kiss, they can't do anything. All he can do is say, goodbye, princess. Jace and Rhaenyra watch Harwin walk away, and Rhaenyra tells her oldest son that they can exchange letters by Raven. Won't that be fun? And Jace says, is Harwin strong, my father? Am I a bastard? Rhaenyra tells him that he is a Targaryen, and that is all that matters. Rhaenyra goes to Laenor in the courtyard, who is sparring with Qarl. She tells him that they are leaving. They should have left years ago. Alicent is not going to let Helaena marry Jace. Rumors are swirling about the castle, about her sons, and she is done with it. They're going to Rhaenyra's seat at Dragonstone. Laenor says that if she's gone from court, Alicent will manipulate Viserys. Rhaenyra remarks that a wise sailor flees the storm as it gathers. Laenor looks absolutely devastated until Rhaenyra says, Laenor, bring him. Rhaenyra Targaryen, #1 ally of the Westerosi gay community. Good for her. Basically, as soon as Harwin and Lionel arrive at Harrenhal, those criminals that Larys freed, they set fire to the castle, killing almost everyone inside, including Harwin, including Lionel, dead and dead. Larys is a filthy kinslayer, and he doesn't feel bad about it at all. God, I hate him. I hate him so much. I hate his stupid little monologue that we hear over Rhaenyra arriving at Dragonstone with her children, talking about how children are a weakness. I hate that Alicent confronts him and acts shocked that they're dead. Larys said, the queen makes a wish. What subject wouldn't strive to fulfill it? I assume you'll write to Otto, your father now, right? Alicent is almost in tears, like, I didn't wish for this. And Larys is like, I'm sure you'll reward me when the time is right. And that was episode 6. Another downer ending, and I don't think it's going to get better from here. I had to do this one as a standalone because of the time jump. There was a lot of ground to cover, but I will have the next recap covering episodes 7 and 8 out shortly. And before we know it, season 1 will be over. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Sophia Lynch. I have music out on all streaming platforms, including this very YouTube channel. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more of these, because I'd like to keep making them, and I'll see you next time. Bye.